Hey folks, this is Arcaden with part 2 of this beginner's guide on how to launch a rocket, a couple of rockets actually, and reach your first planet in Factorio Space Age. In this series we're moving relatively quickly through the main milestones you need to hit to get there. The last part ended with us finishing up a transition over to automated smelting. Here's our lovely little base right now. Just FYI, it took about 4 hours of in-game time to get there. Now, we have some protection here and there, but we also have some close spider bases, and if we start ramping up production, and thus pollution, these defenses won't hold. The second milestone to shoot for is to have a full defensive perimeter. Now, it is a perfectly viable option to instead rush to unlocking oil or getting to bots quicker. In Factorio, there is no one way to do things, but for the purposes of this guide, I think prioritizing protection is a strong next step. To get to a full defensive perimeter, we have to first create a second mini factory to produce important items. We're going to break ground on our more permanent research area, research some key defensive technologies and offensive technologies, decide our approach to protection, and build our perimeter. So, let's start building our next little mini factory. You could now take advantage of all of these lovely little smelting lines you built to automatically feed materials into different production areas. Let's talk what your production priorities should be. Overall, you want to be producing items that are important to your defense right now. So walls from the steel brick. Turrets, you're going to need a lot of these. Think maybe a couple hundred. Red ammo, which I know is piercing rounds magazines, but it's just red ammo. And you want to go big here. You won't have enough raw materials to saturate a build like this just yet, but you're going to want a lot of ammo, so, pump some resources into this. Grenades for your tree clearing one-slur purposes. Yellow belts. We'll upgrade to red belts very soon, but for our defense purposes, yellow belts will be just fine. Medium electric poles. You might not have this researched yet, but we will soon. For your upcoming research factory and the near future, you'll also want to be producing blue assemblers, which is assembling machine 2, inserters, the yellow is fine for now, and electric mining drills. For a slightly further away but still near future, I would also start producing rails right now so that you could have a stockpile when you need them. And make sure you have 100 or 200 engines for the near future as well. So, where do you want to produce all these materials? At this stage of the game, you don't have the amount of resources or infrastructure you need to build out production at the scale for like a mid-game or late-game sized factory, so what you're building now will be temporary. Knowing that, I would keep it close to the smelters, but ideally off to the side so you don't have to dismantle all of it in the near future, you could just ignore it. You'll notice that what I did was put it right in front of the smelters. Now, I always do this, and it is always a bad idea because future me always hates current me when they have to start deleting all of this stuff. But right now, current me doesn't give a Speaking of which, you'll also notice that we're kinda spaghetti-ish here. At some point during playing Factorio, I decided to stop worrying about perfection and symmetry and just focus on functionality as the primary goal. I found that to be pretty freeing, and it actually helped me get much better at the game. Now, the problem with spaghetti haphazard building like this is if you want to expand on top of it, it could get tricky, so it does have short-term functionality. But since I know this is going to be deleted anyway, I don't care. Now, you can make this neat and beautiful, you can make it fettuccine alfredo. It's your game, play it the way you want to. A few other things to note at this stage of production. You do not have the amount of raw materials or belt speed to have all of these machines going 100% all of the time, not even close. And that's more than okay. So, for example, my belt production is grabbing iron plates first. Some iron plates will make it past, but a lot are being taken up by these machines, so not too much is going downstream. However, once this chest is full, this will stop grabbing items and the downstream production will get more of the focus. This is just how it's gonna be. Perfection is the siren song right now. So you wanna work with this reality and manage it in a few ways. You can do that by choosing the order that buildings get the resources. Put your top priorities upstream. In a pinch, splitters can divert 50% of the resources into another area, letting you work around decisions that you made in your spaghetti build. The inserter can also be used to help manage throughput as well. A blue inserter might get closer to maxing out production on machine, but a slower yellow one will let more materials pass while still making some progress on that machine. I do this for things like inserters, assemblers, or if I just need more materials downstream. Finally, don't forget to manage the size of your chests. You don't need 1,000 assemblers. Setting chest limits will help spread the resources around. Managing things in this way allows you to prioritize and make progress while you have a limited amount of resources, which is kind of where you're going to be for the majority of the game. Once your production is going, make sure you're also reserving some space for your main bus. This is essentially your highway that you send a lot of your materials down, where you could pull materials off to specific production areas and put products on it from production areas. Right now, you just want to make sure you're leaving enough space for that. So like away from the smelters, think 50 to 60 spaces. That'll be more than enough. The next big step is research. At this point, we could set up an automated science area that is going to last likely until late game. You want to build this off on the side of the bus. I'm doing it on the north side here. I always put science production and research on one side of the bus and then production on the other. It helps me stay organized. So build out science production for automation, logistic, and military science packs. I'm not going to go into too much detail on tactics here, but each of the science packs serves as a gateway. It's like their own little puzzle, requiring you to mass produce one or more new items. They're a lot of fun to play around with, and there are also a lot of resources out in the community you could use if you don't want to spend the time figuring it out yourself. Here I'm using this amazing build, Tileable Science, that I picked up like 4 years ago. I'll link to it below. Even if you want to do something on your own, these are really worth taking a look at because the person who created this did some very cool things. I remember the first time I saw this thinking like, oh, I didn't realize you could do that. Don't shy away from blueprints. They're how the community shares knowledge with each other. If you are making your own build here, this is going to take a bit, but as long as you're not under any intense attacks, there's no rush. Just remember, you're not fully defended, so keep an eye on your pollution cloud and clear out any troublesome biter nests. Once research is up and running, get electric energy distribution research so you could start crafting medium electric poles. Then, once again, we're going to focus on military techs. Prioritize researching the Defender Capsule and the Follower Robot Count technologies. These Defender Capsules make clearing out biter bases much easier, and you're going to need to do that a lot soon. Right here, with 20 Defender robots, and I think I'm at weapon speed and damage 2, you could clear out somewhat sizable bases. The capsules are doing the main work for you. You mostly have to dodge spit and stay alive. The most dangerous thing you're going to run into at this stage is going to be medium worms, so try to focus fire those down first. But even pretty big bases are manageable once you get all the damage and speed research done that you can. Just, don't get cocky. Get Defender Capsules research and start producing them right away. For your next research priorities, I think you should finish off all of the weapon damage and speed techs. They take a while, they're pretty hefty, and you're going to struggle with your stone brick production. It's going to slow you down. But they make a big difference in helping you clear out the biter nests and withstand attacks. You don't have to go in this direction, but it helps. What do you do while waiting for all this research to finish? You can make some extra steam power materials and place them in a chest for when you'll need to expand. You're going to need more power soon. I like to take this time to organize my hotbars and pretend that it's going to be perfect for the first time ever. If you want to have 4 up like this, you could find that setting in the Options interface menu. You could destroy the old and forgotten relics of your past mini-factory. Oh, remember those times just 2 hours ago? Set up a small junk storage area so you can get that stupid revolver out of your inventory. And of course, you can make a decision on how exactly you want to defend the base. There are 2 approaches I'll talk through here. The first, which we'll call the standard approach, although I don't know what's standard in Factorio really, but that is to create a tightish border that seals in all of your current builds but leaves some space to expand. Something like this. The second option, which we'll call the land grab option, because remember, you're not the good guy here. You go much bigger, and use the major bodies of water, the cliffs, and a lot more walls to get yourself a large amount of space. Let's talk this option first. The benefits of this approach are related to how biters expand. Once you wall off these areas, as long as you make sure that there are no living biters in the walled off area, you won't have any new bases spawn. That means all of this will be clear. And at this stage of the game, your pollution cloud is going to be really small. So you'll end up in a situation where all of these far off biter bases are dormant for quite some time. You won't get attacks, and that could last pretty long. However, this takes a lot of time and it's pretty monotonous. In this playthrough, clearing out and walling off this whole area took about 3 hours, which is not insignificant. The other concern is that it's not easy to repair the walls or replace ammo at this stage. You're a lot less likely to get attacks, but if you do, your options are limited this early in the tech tree. For the standard option, you make a smaller perimeter that contains all of your current production buildings and leaves some space for expansion, like so. This is actually a good size, and it took about 1 hour to make. Besides being faster to create, it's much easier to take care of ammo delivery and handle any repairs. The downside is you're going to be under attack more often, and will be venturing out more often to clear out biter bases. Also, chances are you'll likely need to expand the border at some point, which can take some time. The other thing to know is with the land grab option, you're going to have resource deposits within your barriers, which makes setting up outposts easier. For the standard option, you'll have to set up separate defenses for those outposts. Which way to go? Up to you. For this guide, we're going to do the standard version, though at this point I tend to do the land grab version. I think if you're starting out, the smaller perimeter is faster and will help you learn the game better because you still have to manage biter attacks. You can always and will expand later. Either way, you'll be doing a lot of this, and this. Oh, and then there's this. This is great. Once your military technologies are researched, you're ready to start building your defenses. Before you go, queue up a bunch of research at this point. While you're building your perimeter, you want to push through the rest of the red and green science research. Then, clear out any biter bases that are in the way or are too close for comfort. Pack up some walls, lots of medium electric poles, belts, turrets, ammo. You might need the larger electric poles if you're doing the land grab version. Well, you will if you're doing the land grab version. And you can manually craft those. I place individual turrets a medium electric pole distance from each other. Then a yellow belt and inserters deliver ammo into the turrets. I start this way because this is easy to expand. For areas that get a lot of attacks, you could add a second layer of wall and additional turrets. Once you get lasers, you could quickly plop them down on either side like so, and the medium electric pole will reach them. Building your defensive wall is definitely a place to explore and have fun. Once you finish your perimeter, you'll want to set up ammo delivery. For the standard option, I try to make the whole perimeter one long belt that loops. At this stage, you'll likely just dump the reserve you've been building up into some chests connected to a belt. But pretty soon, or even now really, you could run a belt from the ammo production and connect it directly. The turrets each take 10 ammo in, and then the rest moves on to the next one. The remainder will loop around the base, ready to fill in any turrets that run out. If you're doing the land grab option, your walls will be longer, running loops can be more of a pain. At this stage, I get by just placing a belt down in one direction and feeding it with a chest. Yes, the ammo will pile up at the end, but you'll be able to fix that before you leave the planet, and with so few attacks, it really shouldn't be an issue. And once the last turret is filled and the last wall is built, you will have finished the second major milestone of having a full defensive perimeter, and you can now build in relative peace. And that's it for this part, folks. If you have any questions, please do leave them below. The next part will be focused on pulling in some of those faraway ore patches and bringing those resources into our main base. If you want to be notified when that happens, definitely click the subscribe button. And if you liked this video, please do like it, comment. You'll see the next part in a few days. Until then, thanks for watching, and happy building.